What's up, everyone? We already have a couple of comments, so should get started pretty quickly. What's up, everyone? I'm joined by my faithful, not so famous Bego, Eric Deschain. How are you, man?
Hi, how are you? Good.
And I think we got someone that's a bit more popular than us two together. And we're joined by Adam Drake. Hi, Adam. Thanks for being here.
How's it going, guys? Glad to be here. I
Um,
appreciate you asking me to come on. Looking forward to tonight's show.
Cool.
yeah.
So we got something that's a stable here. So we always honor the TQ of the night with the first comments. So Jonathan with the TQ that says what's up. So we'll have a couple of different comments, French to English. So we got Derek on that says hi. Marc Andre. A couple of people pretty happy that you're here. Adam Ross, another Canuck. New S Works driver. Kevin, another Kevin. Doug Reimer. Jose, Eric, Mr. TLR, Francis, Adriano, Rick, Mathieu, another Jonathan, Xavier, Steve, Trevor from the beautiful Maritimes, Philip, Jonathan, Philip, Martin, Stefan, Michelle, Francis. I don't think I'll be able to say all the names tonight. Noah, Dave, and Kirk. What's up, everyone? So appreciate everyone tuning in. So we're gonna do something a bit different. We have a third wheel, if we can say, or just an addition to our live show. Not the best comment on the third wheel, but that's it. And we'll go over a couple of questions with Adam, who's fresh off the Fuel Nats warm up. So how was the race, Adam?
The race was good. This was my first time at Adobe Mountain Speedway. The track's been there, I believe, about a year now. But like with any track, it's kind of been a work in progress. Obviously, they've had to kind of build up to this point, and with the Nationals being so early in the year, they've kind of been under a time crunch. And I was really impressed. Like, from pictures and things that I had seen leading up to the race. They did a ton of work. They had a really fun layout. They had brought in some new dirt, made the track a little bit bigger, and overall it was good. It was a good event. A lot of competition. The majority of kind of the main contenders that we're going to have at the Nationals were there. Not everyone was able to make it because SIC was the weekend before, and just the schedule early in the year is pretty busy. But overall, the track was good. The weather was really good, and we were able to get a lot of valuable kind of testing and track time to, hopefully it'll help us for the Nationals.
Awesome. So for all the newcomers on the live, if you want to like and share, show us some love a bit. So for those of you who weren't able to see what was up with the warm up, it was a 45-minute final.
Yep.
Mr. Canada, Ty Tessman, Canada, was able to win it over Spencer Rivkin. We also had Spencer Eckett finish third, Mr. Adam Drake finish fourth, and to round up your top five, Jackson Brunson on the new HB. So are you thinking that the conditions in January should be very similar to what's in March?
I mean, the weather could be quite a bit hotter. I don't think it's going to be like, it's the reason why they changed the race from June to the March date is to try to have more reasonable weather. But I'm sure it'll be considerably hotter than what it was this weekend. But it shouldn't be, it's not going to be 115 like what it could be in the summertime. So, realistically, we're only 7 weeks, 8 weeks out, I guess it would be. So I think it will be a little bit warmer, but I don't think it's going to make, the conditions a whole lot different.
Good. So we had a couple of people also asking what happened to Ryan Mayfield. Can you help us out?
Yeah, so the track has kind of like a rocky base to it. They have been, every time they change the layout, they've been sifting the track, so the rocks are kind of getting kind of sift it out. But like with any track, just over time, as the cars are running, they kind of wear away the top surface and the rocks come to the surface. They did bring in, like I said, a bunch of new dirt, which helped. The rocks were like much smaller from what I was told, like the track has been in the past. And I didn't really hear of anyone having any problems the whole time until the final. Ryan ended up having, at first, he thought it was just kind of a random flame out. They restarted his car. Idle seemed fine. Tune was fine. They sent him back out. It died immediately again. This time they pulled the body off, and there was a rock lodged between the engine case and the center diff. So it was right near the flywheel. So as he would start to drive, it would move around, hit the flywheel. And the rock was like wedged in there to where they couldn't get it out with like a tuning screwdriver. He actually had to pull the engine out of the car to get the rock out. And then he tested, and we ran after the race, and everything was fine. But after the two flame outs, he realized something wasn't right. It wasn't something that was going to fix itself. So he decided to call it.
That's the fun and bad things about nitro. There's always something going on.
Yeah.
At least it didn't happen during the real fuel nets.
Yeah.
So what tires were you on for that weekend?
For the most part, we settled on blue reflex. I know Ryan had tested at some point blue detox. We ran green reflex to start. We also ran stalker, a few other tread patterns, but for the most part, blue reflex was the most popular. Green, if you were on the track right after they watered, but once it dried out, it was pretty much blue reflex.
Cool, thanks. So I got a couple of people also talking about the A main challenge from Chris Nelson at TNR, 450 entries. It's fun to see something a bit different too than just someone giving back to the community and having a lot of sweepstakes like that. I think he does something very different, but also very fun.
Yeah, it was a bummer for us because the race was, 3 miles from us, or 3 miles from where we live. It was at our local track, Thunder Alley. Chris is a good close friend of ours, and we did the race last year to kind of be there to, attend the race and also to support a friend. And this year, it just ended up that both events were on the same date. And due to there not being too many weeks between now and the nationals, we just felt it was important to go and run at the nationals track. And overall, it was good because yes, the race had a ton of entries, but like for me personally, to be able to go and run with Ty and Ryan and Spencer and Jackson and Spencer Hecker and Tanner Denny and all these guys, it was good to, the level of competition was very high at the warm-up.
Oh, definitely. So what's your thought on Ryan right now, just completely sweeping SIC, sweeping pretty much the whole 2021 season?
Yeah, I mean, he puts in the work. He has a really good program. I mean, he's awesome to work with. I think what's probably the most impressive thing about his program is, Ryan he's the type that, like, if I had to like say one word, or what word comes to mind when you say Ryan Mayfield, it's just grit. The guy just doesn't give up. He puts his head down. He works super hard. But what I think is one of the most impressive things is, like, he doesn't have a go-to pit guy at every race.
Really?
It's like with Ty, Gord's always there. With Spencer, Richard's always there. With Tebow, he always has Graham there. It's like, for Ryan, yes, he always has someone good pitting him, but when you have someone who's there all the time, it gives you a lot more confidence and comfort. And for Ryan, he had Paul Wynn and our friend David Scott Red pitting him at SIC. This weekend, Mike Trury came out and he was pitting him. Mike's planning on coming out for DNC and the Nationals, but he's not always there at every race. So, yeah, it's pretty impressive for Ryan to have the string of wins that he has. But it's just a testament to his program. You know, he has a good program. He works super hard, and obviously his driving is on point.
Did something happen specifically that he went from being a top level guy to forced to be reckoned with?
I mean, I think he's been a force to be reckoned with as long as I can remember. I mean, he's always had, you know,
Touche.
just amazing speed. But I think the big thing that's changed, like, you don't see that just flat out raw speed as much as you maybe did in the past. In the past, I felt like it was always like so exciting to watch because, you know, he was able to kind of push the boundaries or the limits. And now I feel like he drives with so much comfort and confidence that a lot of times he just wears everyone else down. I think he still has it in him if he gets behind and he has to push the pace and have that speed, he's able to do it. But I think he just has the confidence in his program and in his driving that a lot of times he allows himself just to kind of settle into the race, and you know, he runs a pace that some other guys are able to run, but they're not able to do it for the whole final. And next thing you know, it goes from it's a close race for the first, you know, 30 minutes to the last 15. He's, you know,
Lapping everyone.
right behind you, ready to put you down a lap. So
Yeah.
definitely, you know, very mentally tough and strong, and keeps his focus.
Cool. Can you tell us a bit more about your motor business? And we had a new Drake racing team ish pop
Yeah.
off. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we've done like the engine break-ins and sleeve resizing, bearing replacement, things like that for a couple years now, through the Drake Racing. Our website's thedrakeracing.com. Rhonda and I basically do kind of the everything, you know, from start to finish with the business. Rhonda does all the website stuff and helps with answering emails and shipping and preparing orders, and then I do all the kind of technical or, you know, repairs and break-ins and things like that. And yeah, just kind of started as originally it was I was looking for, just like with anything, you're always looking to improve, trying to better your program, and breaking in engines sucks. That's all there is to it. It's a pain in the ass. It's not much fun, and you can also do a lot of damage if you don't do it right. So I was just looking for ways to kind of improve that process. We purchased EBIS machine, and I was a little leery at first. There was some things that I thought were really interesting, but also some things that I didn't think would be as good as the traditional break-in method. And with time and a lot of testing and development and talking with different people and testing oils and processes, we really kind of nailed something that seems to work really good. And we were just kind of helping out and doing engines for some of our friends, and they basically are the ones that pushed us to, you have to offer this. This has to be something that everyone's able to get, because it makes nitro more enjoyable. It's more user friendly. And you look even on like the electric side of things. I mean, back in the day, we used to have to, you know, build our own batteries, you know, cut the comms, change brushes, things like that.
Run the
And
motor
now,
in water.
yeah, yeah. And now with brushless and LiPo, it's super simple. So if you're trying to get someone to transition from electric to nitro, it's really intimidating. And that's kind of what our friends pushed us and told us, like, look, this is going to make it more enjoyable and a better experience for not only someone who knows what they're doing, but especially for someone who doesn't know what they're doing. and it just kind of snowballed from there. It's all these top guys, they obviously have run nitro for a long time, and they've broken in engines the old-fashioned way, and you can do it the old-fashioned way and still get good performance. But again, it's just a pain. It's not fun to do, and it's really cool for us to have the trust of pretty much all the top guys in the world, and it's now kind of the next step, or the progression has been, we've started to expand a little bit from just doing the service to where now we actually offer the engines, pipes, plugs, clutches, things like that through our website. And then now we've expanded it even again with now having starting to support and pick up a few drivers. We recently signed Joe Bornhorst, Spencer Rivkin, and then we have Brian Cotta and a number of guys around the country, but the main guys would be Joe and Spencer. And it's kind of cool for us to have people not only running our engines but using our service in a bunch of different brands of vehicles. And it's cool for us too, just knowing that so many of these guys trust that what we're doing is kind of the best option for nitro.
We got a couple of questions coming down the line, and I appreciate my assistant that's helping me out. So, at the end of the day, EBIS versus nitro, good old fashioned method, it's almost the same price, because a gallon of fuel plus the time, the plug, and all that jazz, it's almost at the same price. Is there a difference between, or like, is there any advantage of doing it the old school way versus the new oil breaking?
Generation.
No, for sure. So you can have the same kind of end result in performance, but the consistency of the EBIS method, and also that process reduces the amount of stress and load on the engine, and mainly the connecting rod. So I would say, yes, you can do it the old-fashioned way, but there are definitely some advantages to the longevity and slightly on the performance side with doing the EBIS method. But in saying that, not all EBIS methods are the same. So if I was to go out and buy this awesome paint set, it doesn't mean I'm a master painter. Or if I go buy the best barbecue grill, doesn't mean I'm going to make the best steak. So the machine is what's doing the work, but the machine has to be used properly. And there's so many people that they have their own process and method, and I'm sure that they work great. But for us, we've really put a lot of time and effort into the oil, the process. We have a lot of machines, so we don't ever feel like we're rushed to get engines done. We're able to run the engines much longer than most people. Our machines have been modified to kind of do what we feel are critical points in the break-in process. And overall, it's works good. And like I said, we have the support of so many of the top guys.
Awesome. And after the motor comes back from the EBIS machine, what's your recommendation on how many tanks, or can you just plug and play?
So we include instructions with it. Another thing that we like to do, or that we do after doing the break-in, is we'll set the idle gap and then all of the needles for the initial running. It's still super important to heat cycle the engine and to get fuel through it. It's still a process that you want to take your time and kind of ease your way into race tune. If you absolutely had to, if you had to just throw it out there and run it, you could, but it's gonna not be the best method for the long-term life of the engine. Technically, you could take a brand new engine that wasn't run through the EBIS system and just fire it up and go race tune it too, but it's probably not going to last very long. So for us, we basically lap in the piston and sleeve to a point to where it's safe to run. So you're not going to have the problems of it getting stuck on the box and, kind of the just initial pains. But you do still want to make sure that you preheat the engine and you're conservative with the high speed needle for the initial running. Normally we'll run 1 to 2 tanks, at a very slow pace, whether that's in the driveway or on the track. And
Or my pace.
yeah, yeah. And then stop the engine, let it cool, and repeat that 3 to 4 times. So you get 3 to 4 natural heat cycles through the engine before actually hitting the track. And then from there, you'll just kind of ease your way into race tune over the course of the next half to full gallon of fuel.
Cool. And how many hours is the motor in the oil?
So
it's a lengthy process.
Yeah, it is a very lengthy process. It depends on the engine. We don't run to a set time. We run to basically lap the piston into within a spec range that we use. But in most cases, it's like a 12-hour process. With some engines, it's considerably longer. Like with the Performa engines, even some of the Nova engines. Not that Nova's really around anymore, but we would run some engines in the like 28 to 32 hours. Basically, we'll just run the engines as long as they need to run to get within that spec. And then during our running, we also heat cycle the engines, or heat cycle the, I guess it is still an engine, but the, submerged engine, just so that all the parts can kind of expand and contract and kind of go through that process so that the initial running, everything's in a little bit better shape.
Cool. Thank you. And what Norm with the comments. I'm sorry. So we'll go back to locally, just a quick minute. You came to the Quebec Classic in 2014. Obviously, it's probably a pretty big cultural change, everything being in French, and you were out in the sticks, definitely in the French land. Are we going to be able to see you back at the Quebec Classic, hopefully when the world...
Yeah, I hope so. I had such a blast, and then seeing the conditions and how the track has been the last couple of years, it's been amazing. So yeah, definitely would like to put that on the calendar and make it back sometime soon.
It's usually around mid-August, so that's our plan again. We should be able to come out with the dates very soon, so I'll keep you in the loop for that.
One thing to try to consider, at least not trying to be too selfish, but a little bit, is the Mugen Challenge is always the third week of August, and that's like the number one race on my calendar. So
it's a really good thing. We're about an 8-hour drive or a 2.5-hour flight, but I know it's pretty complicated. 2 years ago, one of our friends, Danny Raposo, he actually brought his not very small, his huge trailer, and he was there with a couple of associated guys. So that's definitely on our bucket list to go and race the Mugen Challenge. It's just unfortunate with what happened. You guys were allowed to come into Canada last year, but we weren't allowed to come and see you. So
yeah, but even for us, it still was pretty difficult, and it ends up being really expensive with all the testing you have to do, and the potential of if you do get sick and then you have to get stuck. So it's hopefully things get better and it's easier for us to go there and for you guys to come here.
Yeah, the Mugen Challenge is something him and me have been talking, and LCRC Raceway seems like such a nice facility that it's definitely something we want to try and hit. All right, I'll continue with the list. I just got got excited. All right, that's something that we touched a bit before we before we went on live, but would you rather, what do you enjoy the most? Do you enjoy most racing right now with your very extensive experience and background, or do you rather go back maybe 20 years. And when you're a bit younger and when you were maybe not in full experience or have the same assets that you have right now?
I mean, I still love racing today. I mean, I don't need to travel to as many races as I do or support as many small events as I do. I do it purely because I love doing it, and also because I think it really helps with the development of the products that I race. So it allows me to kind of get and then give good feedback to companies like Mugen and OS and J Concepts and Fataba and Tekin, all the companies that I race for. Um, but there is a little bit of, when you were young, it was like, I think the biggest change or what almost made it more fun was we didn't have social media. Like when social media is great, but it also can be pretty bad at times. I mean, I remember, growing up racing, and it was like you were just excited to be there, hanging out with your friends and racing. And even though you had your rivalries and you wanted to beat certain people, you didn't then have to like hear or see people commenting, and it just it seems like people nowadays will work harder to like go out of their way to be negative, um, than to just give people props. Like, like the old saying of, like if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. Um, that doesn't really seem to be the case nowadays. And so from that standpoint, um, there's times or some of the races nowadays where you're just like, oh gosh, I can't wait to hear what comments people are going to have or what's going to be said. But then on the other hand, some of the stuff we do at the races nowadays, um, it's awesome to be able to expose more people to what we're doing, and to keep them in the loop of things. But we actually had this discussion. It's probably been a couple years now, but I believe it was in Chico, at A Main at their Silver Dollar Raceway, and we were talking about just some of the old times in racing and just realistically some of the dumb stuff that we did. And it was a blast. It was a lot of fun, but we weren't worried about someone having a cell phone and, recording us and then, posting it. That's not to say that we don't still have a lot of fun, but I guess the social media aspect of it, it's like it can be really good, and it also can, kind of keep you on your toes and make you, try to be on your best behavior.
Adam, you have no clue how this touches home. This is so true. But at the same time, if we would have phones in our hand like maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago with all the dumb stuff we did in general, most of us would be in big trouble now.
Yeah.
But that's a different story. I have photos of you at the Quebec Classic in 14, but I'm trying to send them on my... I'll next question. I'll try and go over this. So you talked about your engines, sleeve resizing, all that jazz. What other products that you do? I know that you have an after run oil. I know that you have a couple of different specialty products. What else do you do?
Yeah. So right now our line is like pretty narrow or pretty, specific to the products that we race. I mean, ideally, we would like and we would prefer for our local tracks and shops to carry the products that we run. But right now, the majority of the focus is on the nitro side of things. So it's, again, engines, pipes, plugs, gaskets, pretty much anything for your kind of nitro engine needs. We also sell basically the full line of J Concepts: tires, wheels, wings, and bodies. And then we also carry and sell Fataba radios, receivers, things like that. Just mainly trying to make sure that the local racers have access to the products that we use and also that they need. but we're not really looking to, like, at least at this point, we want to be a full-blown hobby shop, have everything. Because it's tough on the 8 scale side of things. Like, the majority of the tracks, the tracks have to be big, so they have to be in areas where
There's nothing else around.
there's nothing around. And um, you know Ron and I are still both very, very focused on our own racing as well. And it's
Yeah,
hard.
Eric has always a fun time with Rhonda and 40 and
Yeah,
over or truck.
yeah.
He gets lapped, but he
Yeah.
doesn't want to admit it.
But it's hard to try to have or bring all the products with you to the races, so we try to keep it fairly streamlined. And
And
it's
it's a
it's been
busy
good,
day
though.
too.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking to people, you're wrenching on your stuff, you're talking to more people, answering questions all day long.
Tuning
And now you
engines.
have to sell stuff too.
Yeah.
Not forget the guy that, oh, I'll give you 20 right later, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So it gets crazy pretty quick. So I'll try and go over the pictures. Hopefully it's gonna work. There we go. So that's the 2014 Quebec Classic. We had I think it was Renault.
Yeah.
Was that Renault, Bigo?
Yeah.
So Renault.
Yeah, Renault Savoy, yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know who this
I think
gentleman
that's
is.
Sousa. Derek
Oh,
Sousa.
that's Derek. Yeah, you're right, Derek. So yourself, Ty, and unfortunately, that's someone else I don't know.
Capello.
Oh, that's Chris.
I don't know.
Everybody ages,
Very
eh?
small on the. It's hard to.
On the left-hand side.
Dave Henry? No? I don't know.
I don't know. So we'll
Yeah,
go
it might
over
be,
the
it might be Dave Henry.
oh, nice.
Yeah, Dave
Good
Henry,
eye.
yeah. That's right, yeah.
Good eye. So that's a bit bigger, but
Joe Bornors.
with his sunglasses, oh my God.
Yeah.
You had Paul again, the same crew, just with a different
Yeah.
different yeah, you guys had a good story that time, eh? And you guys had podium girls, which is something we need to bring back. So your e-buggy podium with Ryan, Reno, and Joe just being bigger than life. And then the truck main. So yeah, we definitely need to bring back the podium girls. Yeah, so I had someone, I had Stefan send me a couple of pictures, so I wanted to just show them to you guys. It's something I think he cherishes pretty much. So you touched base a bit on that earlier before, but how do you see working with a lot of different sponsor drivers on different manufacturers, different chassis? And do you feel like the OS brand or all that you represent matches well with different platforms?
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, OS has pretty much become the standard, especially since Novarossi has gone away. There are some other engines out there, but for the most part, it's OS or a kind of spin-off or OEM engine that OS is manufacturing. So for us, it allows us to, again, kind of gain information and knowledge about the product in different cars, because some cars the drivetrain's a little bit more efficient than others, and it just kind of helps you build a bigger playbook in a sense. Like you're able to gather more information, and then that helps you long term when you're then trying to go and develop the products to make kind of the next step or next generation. Knowing how it works in a Mugen and associated TLR and S-Works, all that kind of stuff.
And now the next question is a bit out there, but it's something that Keenan White asked me when I talked with Mark Sousa, which did another life change a bit like yourself. He lost a lot of weight. Do you feel more energized or in better shape at the end of an event when you've been eating a bit healthier? Because sometimes it's always easy for us to just drink Red Bull and cheeseburgers and whatnot, but obviously eating a bit more healthy usually is a bit better.
Yeah, definitely. It's I think I don't remember exactly what the saying is, but it's basically, you know, like what you put in is what you get out in a sense. So, um, yeah, I mean, I think if you eat cleaner, you kind of have a more clear mind and um, kind of less fall off or kind of like dumping at the end of the day. Um, I've never really been much of like an energy drinker, but like when I've tried it in the past, it's like, yeah, it like gives you a little boost, but then it was like I always felt like when I was then coming down from it, it was like way worse. Um, but yeah, definitely. You know, if you put better stuff in your body, you're gonna get more out of it.
Cool. Thanks. Um, I'll touch on 10 scale on two different questions. Do you still run 10 scale, and what are your cars, or are they not even?
It's been a while. So I do have an X-ray four wheel, and Rhonda has an X-ray four wheel as well. Um, but she probably ran. Like we used to always run like right before the Reedy race. Like we would go to OCRC and run some, or if like the weather and the outdoor tracks were kind of bad, we would go run at OCRC um, or also Coyote Hobbies. But for me, it's actually been probably like 2 years since I've even run my 10 scale stuff. For the most part, in Southern California, we have such amazing weather. And even the times when we've had rain in the last couple years, for me, it's been almost like a nice excuse to try to get caught up on work. Um, so it's been a long time since I've like seriously run 10 scale.
And the second part of that question is why you don't we see as many older pros run 10 scale anymore? Like Ryan, we haven't seen him much in the past maybe 2 years. Tebow doesn't run 10 scale at all anymore. There's a couple of older. Is it the tire game? What's going on with 10 scale?
I mean, I think in general, the tire game is not a whole lot of fun. Um, you know, now pretty much all the companies have slicks that actually work as slicks. But before that, I mean, that's been pretty recent. And before that, to mount a brand new set of tires, just to sand them down, to then burn them in, to
Run it
then
2 times.
a few runs later, the foam's too soft or you sauced them too much. Um, yeah, I don't think it's necessarily like the age of people not wanting to do it. I think it's different for different people. I think, you know, like for Tebow with him running techno and them not having a two wheel. Um, and I think they put some effort into the four wheel initially, but then it just wasn't worth the extra effort to have to travel to all the events. And I mean, 8 scale is booming. I mean, you look at, you know, this past weekend, you know, Thunder Alley had 450 entries. We had 100 at the warm up. The races like PMB and all these races with just ridiculous numbers. DNC, Silver State with, you know, over 800 entries. Um, and 8 scale is a lot of work. It's difficult to go back and forth between the two, like just because the amount of work on all the cars. Like I feel like any type of racing is very, very difficult to win and to be competitive at. But the amount of like wrenching and preparation you have to do for 8 scale, and then if you had to like go back and forth between the two, um, it's it's a lot, and I think it then kind of takes away from both a little bit. Um, I think that's
That's interesting.
yeah, I think that's an area where, like on the 8 scale side of things for Ryan, I think with him running Mugen, it's been beneficial and helpful that I'm always running 8 scale, and that doesn't mean that like Ryan's relying on me to like prepare his cars or anything, but like there could be times where Ryan thinks of something and he wants, you know, it to be tested, and he doesn't have to necessarily go through his car and go do it because I'm going to be going to the track anyway. So um, I think with 10 scale, again, it's a tire game, and you're going back and forth. And if you're not running 10 scale all the time, and someone has some new sauce or some new burning in method, and you miss it, you're behind at the next race or two. And then jumping back into 8 scale and something changes. I think when you're trying to go back and forth between the two, it can be difficult to be on top for both of those, because they're so different from one another.
That's a very, very valid point. So
And
is
then,
that
and then in 10 scale, the other thing too is carpet. So it's like you're racing, dirt with slicks half the event. Carpet, is it black carpet, gray carpet? It's like, so you have to have separate carpet cars, dirt cars, 8 scale cars. Like it's just a lot to try to kind of master. Like I've always joked, like, people always say, like, if you want to get better in 8 scale, you got to drive 10 scale. And to a point, yes, but I don't always agree with that, because if I want to become a professional snow skier, I don't go water skiing. Like,
go snowboard?
yeah, so it's, yes, 10 scale takes a bit more finesse and precision, but if you can put your head down and focus on one thing, I think it's easier to be great at that one thing than to kind of be, good at all these different categories.
Yeah, Daniel in the comments says it's unique discipline, so it's different from everything.
Yeah.
Did you see a big difference switching from Proline to JC? How was the adjustment?
Yeah, so there are definitely some improvements, and there was a bit of a transition. It's been amazing, though. On a number of levels. For one, Jason and Allison are like so passionate and into it, and they attend the races, and
They're good people.
just the amount of like events that I'm at, and Jason just texted me, "How's it going? What do you like?" Just knowing that he's that into it and cares that much, it gives you that extra confidence, in the product. Um, if there are any areas where maybe we're behind or struggling, like, he's not gonna just sit on it. He's gonna be very active and push everyone to make the products the best that they can be. It was a little different in the beginning, mainly just because it was new to me. I had run Proline for so long that I knew when the track had more moisture or when it dried out and was abrasive. I was pretty confident in, the direction to go. But what made that transition pretty easy for me was Mayfield and Rivkin and Bornhorst, a few of the other guys that we all get along well with and share that information. And it's been amazing. It's been really cool to kind of learn and kind of grow over the last year. And then now going into year 2 with J Concepts, I'm even more confident, because now I have a year under my belt and go into all these different tracks and different conditions. So yeah, it's been really good.
Thanks. We have a really good question in the comments. So I know the Breggy bodies have been over talked. Can you just quickly go over your thoughts about the body?
Yeah, so I actually prefer the look of the finisher body, but from a performance standpoint, there's no question the new F2 body is the way to go. It's the future. It's kind of the evolution of the Truggy class. We actually had a discussion on Truggy and Bruggy this past weekend, and this was something that bugs Mayfield. He's like, Truggy is a truck version of a buggy, but a Bruggy is what? It's the same thing. It's still just a big buggy. Like, but he was like, I don't know. He's just like, Truggy was bad enough, and now we have to call it Bruggy. Like, that's even worse. But you know, it's things change, it evolves. It kills me because I see, or I've heard some people say like, I'm done. I'm not running truggy anymore. This sucks. Like those look so stupid. And it's like, you can still run the old body. Like saying you're going to quit running the class because the look of a body, like you're not being forced to run that body. But from a performance standpoint, we're always going to push the envelope and try to make improvements. And now looking at like the F2 body, I really like it. And when I look at the finisher body, I'm like, man, that thing looks so big and kind of old school. When something's new, it looks different and strange, but very quickly it becomes the new norm. And it's pretty funny now when you see one of the old traditional truck bodies, because to me now they look funny.
I know. It actually, the new bodies got me into truck now. So I had a question also. I've seen on Ronda's, because she's very active on the social media, the way she cuts the entrance for the fuel gun and the pull tab. She does like a teardrop shape. Is
Yeah.
that something a bit better that you guys tested?
So for the Mugen tank lid is more towards the front of the tank on the truck.
Okay.
So it has to have that cut out because when the tank swings, it basically swings into the windshield. So I think with like the Associated truck or some of the other trucks, because the tank lid is towards the back of the tank, you can just do a more traditional like hole for the fuel gun. But it's mainly just because of the Mugen tank. It's not like a performance thing or anything like that.
And does it change anything on the downforce or anything like that?
No, I mean, if anything, it maybe takes away a little bit, but I don't think you're going to notice
If your lid
it.
won't open, it doesn't. It's not
Yeah,
useful.
yeah.
Okay, thanks. What's your best memory that's related to RC?
Man, I've raced a long time, so
I know.
I have a lot of good memories. I would say just I guess off the top of my head, kind of one of the most memorable or special would be the 2013 Roar Nationals at Gulf Coast Hobbies, also known as I think Mike's Hobby Shop. For a number of reasons, that race, it was the third Roar 1/8 buggy national championship that I won. It was after my good friend and pit guy Casey Peck had brain surgery. So it was kind of a, you know, I don't know, just kind of just a really special thing knowing that we were able to do it, you know, before him having his health problems, and then again after, and then also my other close and dear friend Bill Bridges. The week after that, he lost his battle with cancer. And that race was kind of the last race that he was able to watch on live RC and kind of, you know, just knowing in the back of my mind that he was watching, and that also made it really special. And then the last thing was the Sunday, the day of the final, was Father's Day. So kind of as like a, you know, Father's Day present to my dad. So yeah, I would say that was probably the most special race.
That's a heartfelt answer. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Other tough question from Jonathan in the comments. So I'll just put it on screen. So he says that you're a world-class racer. So the toughest question ever: what's your favorite racetrack to race on the planet?
It'd probably be Thunder Alley. I mean, I've been to a lot of cool places. I would say one of the like coolest tracks that I ever raced on was the 2010 World's Track in Thailand. But as far as like tracks that I've been to over the years and just they've had cool layouts and it's close to home, it's my home track. It would have to be Thunder Alley. Just the amount of elevation,
Yeah.
The track's actually not that big. I think when people see video and stuff online, they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is it's huge." But I feel like it's kind of like the right size. Maybe not to like host a world championship or something like that, but it's like super easy to water. It's easy to maintain, easy to marshal. The dirt works really good, whether it's wet or dry. Um, and again, it's close to home. It's like 3 miles away.
Nice. Will we see you pull out the gas truck?
Yeah, that man,
I got to tell you, there's a lot of people that wrote to me in private messages asking about the gas truck.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that project should have been built and run and tested months ago. It's just kind of you just get busy. You get crazy with other things, and with us kind of finalizing and doing a bunch of stuff for the MBX8R that's soon to be released, and the amount of races I've been going to, and there's just been so many little things that unfortunately the gas trucks kind of got pushed to the side. I have all the stuff actually 10 feet away from me right now. I just have to set aside the time to get out there and finish it up and get out there and run. I have engines broken in and ready to go. I have tires, I have bodies painted. I'm
You're
ready.
ready to go.
It's just I gotta get the build going and put aside the time to finish it up, do the videos and stuff like that.
Cool. So we got Drew Spurgeon in the comments. So he's taking credit for you to coming to JC. So congrats to him. But there's a bit of shade thrown out, and he's asking how much dust can you get on the Lincoln?
A lot. Yeah, there's a lot of dust on it. Normally it's covered up, but yeah, it's not dust on the camera lens. It's actually dust on the truck. It needs to be pulled out and washed. It doesn't get driven much.
There's a lot of questions regarding the MBX8R. Is there going to be a electric version? Is there going to
Yep.
be a truck version?
Yeah, so the electric version will probably follow 2 months after the nitro car, which the nitro car is basically due to be released and shipped any day now. We actually have kits and parts in the warehouse, so it should be pretty much any day that those start shipping. And then the eco buggy, like I said, hopefully it'll follow about 2 months. It's kind of hard to predict the dates at this point, just because
Global shipping crisis.
everything is pretty ridiculous. Eventually, we'll do an 8TR and 8TR Eco, but that's still a ways out. That hasn't. I have a pretty good idea of the direction that we'll probably end up going, but it hasn't really even been on the radar too much. The current trucks are really, really good, and I don't think that the trucks need quite as much attention, but we will update those as well.
Good. And someone else that was sending me a lot of messages to ask you about the Jamin X1.
Yeah, I still have one of those hanging too. Actually, Jay Halsey called me. I think it was Saturday. It was either Friday or Saturday. I actually need to call him back. But yeah, those were good times. It was obviously before Losi had an 8-scale program, and I did a couple races for Kyosho, and then right before the 2000 Worlds, I switched or joined Jamin. This was before they had a car. There was ideas and some things in the works, but it was through OFNA, and the Jamin car was a pretty amazing car at the time. The kit and the build was, I think, considerably better than most of the cars on the market. And it was good times. Still, like I said, still stay in touch with Jay and talk with him on a pretty regular basis. And good times.
Nice. Yeah, Bego was really looking forward to that question.
Yeah.
I know you've been with us for an hour, so we'll slowly start dialing it back. So the really, really big question, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Like, obviously you've been racing for a very, very long time. You're very involved in like the business aspect of it now. Where do you see all this going?
Yeah, so I see myself transitioning more into the role of, you know, similar to what I'm doing, but transitioning more into the business side of it with Mugen. Um, this was a big part of my like reason for joining and going to Mugen now 7 years ago was, there's going to come a time when, Chris decides he wants to slow down and think about retiring himself, and that's when I hope to kind of step in and take over the reins.
Nice. You racing 40 and over or pro at DNC?
Pro.
Pro. Nice.
Yep. Yeah, and
Um,
then to elaborate on that, on like our side, on the Drake Racing side, um, kind of the sky's the limit. We're going to continue to try to push and improve our products and engines, and hopefully continue to support and service a lot of racers, and try to make the nitro experience easier for everyone around the world.
nice to take a very famous catchphrase, "Nitro's the glory." I think that sort of does the whole list of the questions that we previously spoke about. I really appreciate you taking the time. We still have 104 people watching us, so thanks to everyone for watching. Any last word, Bego? Obviously, you
Yep.
spoke all week. All right, Adam. Anyone else you want to thank, or anything you want to add
Yeah,
before we end?
just want to thank you guys. I think you had a number of great questions, and if guys have other questions and you want to extend it for a few minutes and ask some questions, that's great. But thank you to you guys. I appreciate you asking me to come on, and if in the future, if you ever want to do this again, definitely be in touch.
Awesome. Appreciate it. I also want to tell you, and that's something I think it's really worth mentioning. It's overwhelming how many people in the comments are commenting on the type of ambassador that you are. It's surprising how much positive not surprising, but it's overwhelming the amount of comments of people appreciating you coming out on the live, and also you just being a very good ambassador for the sport and the hobby, or whatever you want to call it. I don't want to start
Yeah,
that
I
question.
appreciate it. I mean, it's when I started racing, I was just a little kid mowing lawns or washing cars, doing whatever I could to get to the RC track. And there was some people that were very influential, like on a positive side and also on a negative side. And I've just always tried to, I guess, kind of gear myself more towards the people that I looked up to and that were influential and nice when I was young. Because at the end of the day, those customers are the ones that are making it possible for me to be able to race and work in the industry, and it's greatly appreciated. And I wish everyone was just a little bit nicer and more helpful, because this sport, hobby, whatever you want to call it, it can be really, really intimidating for someone new. And if we all just take a little bit of time, I mean, of course, even for me, like there's times where you're thrashing on your own stuff, and maybe you don't have the time to help someone else. But if we just take a deep breath, slow down a little bit, and remember that um, if sometimes not helping this person out, it may stop them from being able to race that day, and they may get into some other type of sport and hobby. And if we're all just a little bit more friendly and helpful, it'll go a long way.
Oh, true that. There's nothing worse than well, you don't run that much electric, but there's nothing worse than having your motor and ESC not talking to each other and someone coming to ask, "Hey, whatever question," because when your electronics are not working, it's not very fun. And we had a really other good question: who's the better cook, you or Rhonda?
Oh, by far, Rhonda. I'm pretty fortunate. So, like a friend of mine, he was actually the best man at my wedding. Brett Oakes, his nickname's Hollywood. He's always said, he was like, you get a looker or a cooker. It's not possible to get both. That's like having a unicorn. But I've got both. Rhonda's an amazing cooker, and she's obviously a looker as well.
When is Mark gonna race with her body?
He did it at Silver State this past year.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah. That's another really good ambassador for our sport. This guy is amazing. All right. That's pretty much it. Oh, she's she actually is in the comment, and Rhonda said the exact same thing. You either get a looker or a cooker.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right. So I think that's it for tonight. I appreciate everyone tuning in, and appreciate your time, Adam. It's really appreciated. And follow the page if you want to see other stuff. We have a couple of pros and a couple of people lined up, and hopefully they're as interesting as Adam. So thank you very much. Thanks to Bego for showing up.
Yeah.
And I hope that you guys have a good night. All right.
Great.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you, Adam.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Yep. Care.